But I think that's what, like, I tweeted them when we were at the Detroit Auto Show. We showed these vehicles at the Detroit Auto Show, which was crazy. And I tweeted the BBC and the, what is that auto program they do? Top Gear.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's how they found out. I don't know.
How fast does it go?
It's not really about fast, but it goes 25 miles an hour, pretty steady, and then it has pretty huge cargo room in the back for carrying cargo.
So you're not sure if it's because of your tweeting, or do you think it happened because of your good social media skills?
I don't know. I mean, it could have been because I tweeted them. It could have been because we wrote press releases and it was on 477 and Design Boom, and so they heard about it somehow. I don't know how, though. But my he doesn't really want these to be the end product. He's working on a new one that he hopes to actually sell. So.
Is that right? Wow.
That was part of his MFA project.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, who says art school can't, give you some practical skills?
Yeah.
So shall we get started with our agenda conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Rumor has it that Paul's going to join us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So be ready for that at any moment. He might just drop in.
Oh, nice.
And Leslie had a topic she's brought up that maybe I should let Leslie outline. And you want to take it away?
Okay, I sent an email earlier so I wouldn't have to go into a long explanation. So if you didn't see it, well, actually I have two topics, but the one that's more timely is selling from your studio, which I briefly brought up when we were all in class with Paul. And, it was just very brief. I'm having a big open studio garden sculpture party on the 21st. And I said all this in an email, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. But what I'm wondering is if other people in the group have had good or bad experiences selling from their studio, or when I say that, I don't mean individual sales, like having a studio sale or an open studio, and what you found worked well and what didn't. And my other problem is I'm a real wimp when friends come over and they say, "Oh, how much is that?" I just automatically make it less, and I'm a wimp. And I have another subject too, but we'll see how the evening goes, and if there's time, I'll bring it up.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to disqualify myself because I've never sold anything out of my studio. So, but I'll bet Rachel has.
A little, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it my studio because it was a gallery that was our studios. So in a sense, we did.
And were you also represented by a gallery at that time?
No.
No. I think that's part of your question, isn't it, Leslie, that there could be a conflict of interest if you had a...
No. It's with the understanding that if you have a gallery representing your work, you've sorted that out with them and it's okay.
Oh, all right.
Because, yeah, that is a problem. It is a conflict if you're represented by a gallery. They don't want you undercutting them. But anyway, I don't have that problem. So I'm having a studio sale, and here in Vermont, there's really, honestly, there's hardly any commercial galleries. So,
So how much of a discount did you give your friend?
Well, the way I price it is I think to myself, it's if it were in a gallery, it would be twice as much. But it's not a gallery, and I have some galleries that supposedly have my work, but they never sell anything, and I tell them what I'm doing, and they're like, fine, it's fine. So I make it about half of what the retail price would be. But then when a friend asks me, I make it almost half of that, which is kind of pathetic.
That's where you start.
Yeah, I know. And they didn't, pressure me or anything. I just blurted out like an idiot.
Yeah. Okay. Remind me not to have you negotiate for my next.
Oh yeah. No, I'd be better for someone else. But when it's me and my friends come in, it's my friend. Oh, I'll give it to them for.
Bob, what do you think?
It doesn't seem like anybody has the same problem, and that's okay. I'm just throwing it out there because it's coming up for me, pretty soon. And
so, what's your strategy for the garden party coming up on the 21st? Then, pricing wise.
No, I'll have little labels with prices next to everything, and it will be about half of what it would be in a gallery. But the big, I have my studio where the work will be, and it will look very nice and sort of gallery-ish. But then I've got this big yard that I've been turning into a sculpture garden. And so I'm trying to draw people and say, this is a sculpture garden party and open studio. So I might get tons and tons of people that just wander around my gorgeous sculpture garden and eat all the cookies and iced tea and split, but that's the risk. I mean, unless somebody has a good suggestion, I just figure that's the risk I'm taking. And, some people will go into the studio and look around and they might be interested and they might not.
I've had studio shows, but I've never sold anything in one. But neither have I ever tried or labeled anything with prices. But I do have a friend who actually has a studio in his home, and he paints there regularly. And at least twice a year, he has a sale, and that's what he calls it. He doesn't call it a party, although it is, and all of his friends go. He sends lots of announcements, and it's called a sale. And when you get there, everything has a price on it. And if you should want to buy something, you buy it from someone else, not him. He assigns someone to handle the sales for him because he's the host of the party.
Right.
And so that way you can avoid immediately giving them a discount. And they would have to work a little harder to get to you to get it.
Yeah. When I did one 2 years ago, it was called a studio sale, and I did that. I had someone else handling the money, so I could just run around and chat to people and so on, and that was good. And I made money. And I know other artists who do it regularly, but they're a little more crafty than I am. Just around here. And
crafty literally, or they deal in
artsy craftsy.
Oh.
And to be honest, I started out calling this a studio sale, and I ran the idea by two other artist friends of mine, and I was really shocked because one of them helped me with my sale 2 years ago. She's the one that took the money, and they were both really negative and said, you can't just keep inviting the same people to come and expect all these, so that's why I'm soft pedaling it this time based on their feedback. I'm opening it to the public, and I'm saying, garden party, open studio.
Oops.
Better to just be straightforward. I don't know, Anyway, I did it that way 2 years ago, and it was successful. However, I was really selling things cheaply, and I had tons and tons of work. I was trying to clear out space, and this time it's a little more, not so bargain basement.
Well, couldn't you say garden party and studio sale? Soft pedal it that way.
Yeah, I said garden party open studio, but yeah, maybe in my next my reminder announcements, I'll switch it to sale. Okay.
Yeah.
Good suggestion. Thank you.
We got a notice from Russell I got an email from him saying that his opening was this past weekend, and he just broke even. He said covering the cost of the drinks and the food, but he took it as a good experience, and he got a lot of interesting comments, and he's enthusiastic about doing it again. He's not going to quit his day job yet, he says. So I think that's the risk you take.
Yeah.
Leslie, I missed a lot of your talk because my computer couldn't handle it. But I read your email, and I was, really impressed with the card. I think it was really a beautiful image, and it would entice me to want to go see your show or your gardens. I haven't, besides doing our own gallery stuff, I have a friend who always does studio sales from their house because they're not with a gallery. And they're quite successful, and they don't wine and dine people. They just spend time with people, and people want to go there because they're hanging out with them, and they just come into their living room and you just hang out and the artwork's up, and tons of people go because they're so hospitable. And they have a few little treats, but they don't spend a lot of money on beer and all of that, none of that. So, I would just suggest that your hospitality of your own personality and talking about your art and asking people about themselves is better than spending a lot of money on refreshments.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, like, even if you don't make a lot of sales that day, if the gardens are beautiful, it might be that you might find that you could rent out your garden for little receptions or weddings or tea parties, like maybe there's more to it than you even realize.
Yeah, a couple of people have said that to me. It's really just the beginning. It's probably going to look fabulous in 3 years, but yeah, I'm keeping that in mind. But at the same time, it is also my home, so it's a little, yeah, I'm going to keep that in mind.
My question is, what have you done to promote the event?
I've sent a postcard, a really nice postcard out to about, I guess about 300 people. It's on Facebook. I sent out the email announcement. I'm going to take out advertising in the hip local alternative weekly paper. And then, the week before, I'll send out maybe 1 or 2 reminder emails.
To the same list that you sent the postcard to? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Reinforce that?
Yeah.
And are those the same people that you invited last time?
Yeah, that's why I'm opening it up to the public and taking out ads to enlarge the audience.
Do you use Square? How do you do credit cards and all that?
Yeah, I've got Square.
Okay.
Any ideas about how to enlarge that list even more? Because I think the sales will be directly proportional to the number of people who show up, right? I mean, or do you want to try to pre-qualify those people in some way?
I think I'm letting myself in for it by saying it's open to the public and putting it in the paper. So I don't see how I can really, well, let me put it this way. My optimistic self says it will be a self-selecting audience. When somebody sees it if I haven't invited them personally and they see it in the paper, they'll see the words sculpture garden, studio sale or open studio.
Yeah.
They might recognize my name. Remember, I live in Vermont. Vermont is like, teensy, and I've done public commissions around here, so some people know my name. Anyway.
What about signage and notices in downtown Burlington, that kind of thing?
I'm going to put, I have a whole bunch of these postcards, and I'm going to put them around at different businesses that are sort of likely targets. But I wasn't going to actually do posters, although now that you've mentioned it, I might.
Those cheap lawn signs, that you can sticking to somebody's.
Yeah, I know, Mark, but I did that 2 years ago. I didn't do cheapo though. I did arty ones. And for this one, I don't want any connotation of like, a yard sale.
Oh.
Because when I did it 2 years ago, I had people. I live in a blue collar neighborhood, and there were a lot of resettlement people from all kinds of different countries. So English isn't their first language, and really a lot of them thought that it was a yard sale, and they were wandering in my studio looking at. I'm a real hoarder, of tools and materials, and they're looking at my rolls of masking tape and stuff, So no, I don't. I want to disassociate from any kind of casual, sort of yard sale aesthetic.
I see. Is there any foot traffic in your neighborhood?
No.
Okay.
Say you're free. Yeah, I saw a documentary on the Travel Channel recently about Vermont.
Yeah.
It was only 5 minutes long.
Are you insulting my stay?
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing you. Actually, they were all enthusiastic about an upcoming new industry in Vermont, and it was about the four-wheeler industry. It seems there's all these trails being set up for Polaris 2, 3, and 4-wheelers, and they go from station to station, and it's bringing in all this tourist traffic into Vermont. So if there's any way in which your material might be able to cater to these incoming tourists, maybe there's a new market for you there.
I didn't know any of that, Bob.
Yeah, I was surprised. No, it was. They show these big groups of guys and women going out with their bikes. What do they call them? SUVs or no? Those are trucks. But yeah, you might check that out. Maybe there's some marketing ploy for you there.
I actually have done a lot of work with bicycle imagery, but and because Vermont is so politically correct and stuff, I've tried to hustle that around a little bit. But I think what I do is a little too spooky and surreal for
the tourist business.
Yeah.
Scared away.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about, at the end of your email, you had mentioned about your friends and lowering the price and all of that. And I guess what I've done over the past number of years now is I either give my art away or I sell it for the action, or I just sell it for what it really is supposed to be sold for. And part of that is because I'm in a gallery, and I have to be able to do that. But I think that's, it's only fair, and your friends they definitely will respect that. So.
Let's hear from Rachel Doniger.
Leslie, I just had a thought occurred to me in relation to your work. Have you thought about approaching any high-end garden shops? I'm thinking of Detroit Garden Works in particular. Might be a nice alternative to a gallery.
What do you think, Leslie?
Yeah, I have tried in the past, not recently. Right here in Vermont, we have Gardener's Supply. I haven't heard of, what was it again? Detroit Garden Works? I'll look that up anyhow. And again, I don't know. I'm not above trying to do work that caters to garden statuary if it's not too cutesy, but as far as just trying to make a buck. But I'd have to find. All I can say is I've tried, and I haven't been able to make a good contact who is enthusiastic. I haven't tried the place that you mentioned though, so thank you. I'll look into that. And the other, Rachel, you were breaking up a little bit, and if you wouldn't mind just repeating, you said something like, I either give it away or something and something, and you were breaking up and I couldn't hear it.
I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
It was just, I don't. I just have decided to give it away as a gift or sell it for the price that it would be, you know, sold for at the gallery. One, because I need to respect my gallery, but two, it respects my work and myself and my friends who have, you know, it is kind of like our friends do support us, and I'm very thankful for that. And I always want to make sure that they're buying the art because they really like it. But but that's how I go about it. I don't discount for friendships anymore.
Good point. You know, Rachel Doniger's point about a corporate sale leads into the idea of marketing to art advisors, and I wondered if you had considered that at all, and if you had seen the video on Paul's site by Susie Locke. There also were a few other art advisors in Paul's collection, but it just seems like some very low-hanging fruit there, that it's easy to get your work in front of them, and that they have a large number of clients, particularly in the corporate world, who are looking to add to collections and need the guidance of an art advisor. And I wondered if you had considered that, if you had a strategy for that at all. Leslie?
Yeah, I have done different campaigns over the years, and I have, when you say art advisors, what the term I use, and if we're talking about the same thing, which I think we are, and who I've targeted are art consultants. And I've looked at hundreds of their websites. I've selected ones that I think, you know, are high-end or could show, possibly be interested in my work. Because the thing is you got to think about what your work is and who might want it. And I think a lot of my work isn't, you know, so sort of generally.
But you do outdoor sculpture, which is something that is collected by large corporations, and
yeah, it's
not
sort of. I mean, everything I do has imagery in it. It's not abstract, and a lot of really large scale. I've really cut back. I've practically eliminated applying for public art commissions. I've gotten sort of burnt out. When I quit teaching university after 25 years, that's what I focused on, was public art. And I'm just trying to be realistic with myself. You know, I use images, everything's surreal. You know, it's not to everybody's taste. Not that any art is, but
right.
But anyway, there are consultants that, you know, I've sent beautiful packages to once I get an initial high, you know, back, and they say that I'm in their files. I never really hear anything, and then, no kidding, just a few days ago, I got an email from an art consultant in Maryland who is showing a client some of my works on paper, along with other artists too. So I was just, you know, otherwise, if that hadn't just happened, I would have said, oh yeah, I'm not going to bother anymore, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, because I think I'm supposedly in their files, and I should be better about updating my files with these art consultants that I've contacted over the years, but I never hear boo, and then all of a sudden I heard boo. So yeah,
well, I put a link on the site and to this infographic that was just published by the Wall Street Journal. I don't know if you've seen it, but here it is. Can you see that? It is. It says that it gives down here the market for art assistants, and this is where the art advisors find out about artists: through galleries, through art fairs, 33%, and then online, this 8%, which seems low when compared to what Susie Locke was describing about how she would like to be approached as an art advisor. She said that of all her clients, and she's been doing this 35 years, all of her client artists keep in touch with her by email, just sending her a link to their latest work on the website. If she places a piece of work, it's almost a certainty that she won't use that artist again for another couple of years. So you really would have to spread your marketing effort over dozens of art advisors to create a viable channel, I think, for marketing your work. But with such little effort, I don't think it requires, in fact, she said, don't send me fancy packages, don't send me binders with printed material, just send me a link to your most recent work. And the site should be tuned up so that it has dimensions, it has good photography, and of course your site it possesses all of those qualities. But the reason that they're different from dealers and galleries is that they adhere to this ethical standard. This is the site of their society, the APAA, and it has a list of all of the members here. Here are the executive members, and then down below are all the members with links to their websites and their location. And it just seems like a very easy thing to do that could potentially have a lot of impact. So I've put links to this on our site on the agenda, and would encourage people to go down that road and try to get some corporate sales, because it seems like it would be rather easy to do. Leslie, did you still have your hand up? Did you have a comment?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I meant to lower it, but I will. I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. Carol Michaels, who's an artist coach, on her website, I gave the link, some other class, it's Artists Help Network or something. But anyway, she sells mailing lists. That's really great, what you just showed. And that's where I have gotten a lot of art consultant names. And just like with galleries, though, I still go through them and go to their websites to see, if it's appropriate to approach them, or if I even want to.
Yeah.
So it's still time consuming. I hear what you're saying, but yeah.
The distinction that Susie makes between herself and art dealers and other people is that she gets paid by the hour and represents no conflict of interest to the client. She doesn't skim a percentage off the top, and people come to her. Her job is primarily educating people about art because they have money, they don't have a lot of knowledge, and it seems to me if you could find a consultant for whom they think your work is appropriate, that it would take that kind of education to bring somebody up to speed about your imagery, your iconography, and the content of your work.
Mm-hmm.
It's be like having a representative.
It sounds lovely. And I have, I've been on the case, and so far, I think a lot of, I don't know about everybody else in the group, but I think really, really a lot, I wish I had thought about this more when I was younger, depends on where you live. I think these things happen so much better when you are talking to somebody in person. And living in a rural area, I think I do a lot. I do as much as I can online and through the mail. And then I make these various attempts to go to the city, to an art fair, or this, that, and the other thing. But I don't know, in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, I should try to go to New York like once a month, regularly. And just do it.
Yeah. Julia, is that a good strategy?
I don't know.
You split your time between Dallas and New York?
Oh, well, it's true. And of course, this trip is supposed to be for my art, but the truth is my daughter and my grandson are here too. And so I end up not spending that much time on my art. I use it mainly for keeping up with what's going on in the art world and for inspiration, because this place inspires me. I show here occasionally, but I don't have a gallery here or anything. I've never thought about looking into an art consultant here, but I really appreciated that website you just showed. I'm definitely going to check that out. I have thought about using an art consultant, but I haven't.
You had some pieces in Brooklyn, though, right, at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge. How did you place those? What were they, public art commissions? No,
that was temporary. It was a show. There was a group in Brooklyn called the Brooklyn Waterfront Coalition, Artist Coalition. And I just applied. That's all. It was just a simple application for a show.
Yeah.
And I've shown in a few galleries here, but none of any note. And I didn't really gain anything much from it. Blurb on my resume, that's it. I'm trying to put a little more effort into that in New York. I'm going, in fact, this week to see some galleries there, people that came to Dallas for the Dallas Art Fair. And I chatted with them there, and they were quite friendly, so I'm going to go visit them here. I'm chatting them up and making friends like Paul has advised, and we'll see how that goes.
Right. Leslie?
Yeah. Okay, first of all, I feel like I'm talking too much, and I'm just going to put this out there. It is a segue, but if people have other things they want to bring up, no problem. So I am going to go to New York on, June 12th, because a friend of mine's having an opening and another friend is in a show. So I'll get to see their work. And the other thing I'm going to do, and this leads up to my question, is I'm going to go to a very short list, like maybe 4 galleries that are like on my list, so that I can try to think of something to say in a message to them. And here's my question, that to see if anybody else has similar, has tried and has similar problems or solutions to. I had my one-on-one phone conversation with Paul, and it was during the course, because I just wanted to get on with things, and my main goal is trying to get galleries to even look at my work. I've been exhibiting since the 70s, a really, really long time, and it's just commercial galleries that I can't, Anyway, and he said what he said to all of us, but it really hit home, and I'm like, yes, 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 which is, okay, narrow down maybe between half a dozen and 10 galleries that you really, really feel are right to you. And you've heard the whole thing, it's like dating. Just, regularly send them a message, but don't make it me, me, me. Say something about what they're doing and comment on it, and then towards the end sort of slip in, oh, by the way, it made me think of thus and such. This is a project I just did, one image. You've heard him say this a million times. And I've been putting it off, and I finally got myself to sit down and sort of edit down my list. And again, because I don't live in a big city, he said, yeah, you can do this, go to their websites, see what they've been doing. Were they at a fair? What was their most recent exhibition? Blah, blah, blah. Say something about it. And I went to everybody's websites, and I could not think of anything to say.
Anything kind.
Yeah. Or interesting, or, I mean, yeah, okay. I just saw what their most recent exhibition was. I didn't go there and see it in person. You know, what am I going to say? Oh, you know, and I didn't particularly care for it either. So, you know, I got to hatch something up. Or they were at the fair, big deal. I wasn't there. So, you know, I don't know. Okay, so I'm just tossing it out there as far as, you know, contacting galleries when you're not there in person and coming up with stuff to say. That's my challenge to you all.
Yes, and it's a good one. Does anybody have experience with that? I don't. I haven't tried it yet. But theoretically, it sounds good. You know, I think it's going to take a lot of failure, a lot of misses, a lot of sending out blank messages that aren't going to resonate with anybody. It's a matter of odds. What do you think, Julia?
I was just going to say that when I did go out and make my attempt at galleries, as Paul had encouraged us to do, and I had not done before, I just went into the galleries, interested in the gallery and finding out as much as I could about it. I didn't do the emails until later, after I had been there. So I'd say if you're coming to New York and you have your list narrowed down, then, you know, visit these galleries and talk to them, whoever is there in the gallery. Although I'll tell you, people in New York galleries are not easy to talk to.
No,
I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's the owner of the gallery or if it's, you know, the lowest person on the ladder. They're not friendly and they're not easy to talk to. But if you can at least see what they're doing so that when you do send the email, you can talk specifically to what's going on in their gallery and make some comment about it.
And New York galleries are a different breed than most other galleries throughout the country. I mean, it really is a very exclusive club. I'm presuming that Leslie knows the galleries that you're talking about. You have some sort of relationship with them already, right? Some knowledge of them. But, you know, I was in Newport, Rhode Island over the weekend and had a conversation with a gallery owner there. And this is a little gallery that represents about 20 or so artists who primarily paint seascapes. And the artist I was talking about was also a co-owner of the gallery. So he had his own work in the gallery, and he said that the gallery business is just depressing right now. That Newport, you would think there's plenty of money floating around, and they were doing a brisk business already last weekend in all of the shops and everywhere else. But people just aren't buying art out of galleries right now. And he went on to say that he's been there long enough to be well known in the community, and he goes often to social events, and he said the houses in the nearby communities are filled with art from his gallery. That he feels is just saturated. And people,
he needs new artists.
He probably does. Yeah. This is a very kind of mid-level, mainstream, you know, rowboats floating on a salt marsh, or
right.
You know, triple-masted schooners.
I will add this. I have been told that you can get better prices for your art anywhere other than New York.
Yeah.
I mean, really, unless you're a real hotshot, you know, and with a big gallery, the prices that New York will sell your work for are probably going to be less than anyone else will sell your work for. And I know even if you just go upstate a little bit, like a few months ago I was in Hudson, and I visited a few galleries there. I visited them just to look at their art. I hadn't yet had Paul convince me that I should be interested in a gallery for myself. And so I was just going in to look at their art, and I couldn't get out of these places. You know, they just wanted to talk and talk and talk. And when they found out I was an artist, they would go straight to their computer and look at my website, and they just, you know, it was hard to get out. And like I said, you can't get anyone in the city to even talk to you. Even if you go in acting like you're a collector, you can barely get them to talk to you.
Yeah, because they're suspicious you're not.
I guess my question,
you can't afford their art.
My question, Leslie, is if you've, were recently on their sites, didn't really see things you liked, what is it about those particular galleries that you're interested in?
Yeah, it's just the recent, I have honed them down, and there's a reason, and it's usually because the kind of work they show, I could see my work fitting in, and at the same time, they're not showing an artist who's doing work that's so similar to mine either. And so, as Julia already said, when I go down next week, in New York, which, I used to live in New York, and I know what the galleries are like. It's a very short list. So yes, I am going to go in person to some of the galleries on my short list so that I can say something, that I was actually there. But there is, I don't know if any of you have heard of Creative Capital. They give grants to artists, but they also do great workshops for artists, and they offer short, like 1 evening online courses. Anyway, I've taken some of their workshops, and one of the presenters, I'll never forget her saying, she pulled out this map of the United States, and she pointed at New York City. She's an artist named Jackie Battenfield, and she's written a book. Anyway, never mind. And she lists off all the statistics of how many galleries there are in New York and how many artists, are trying to get into the galleries and blah, blah, blah. And she lives in New York, and she even used to run a nonprofit gallery in Brooklyn. And she said, I just decided there's the whole rest of the country out there, and everybody's trying to get into these galleries in New York, and I'm going to go check out all those other galleries. And as opposed to me, who's trying to do it with packages and emails and cards and stuff, she would, try to go to places, cities where she had a friend, where she, could have a crash pad and make appointments and go to galleries in person, and it worked well for her. Mm-hmm. I'm not like really ready to, I shouldn't say ready, I just don't really want to hit the road like that, but I spend a lot of time and dollars on really good like printed materials and stuff to send to galleries, which I've done a lot in the past. But I think a lot of it boils down to, though, really the best way is in person. And maybe I should remember that story that I just told you better and get my butt out to some of these other cities and give it a whirl.
I'm also, though, thinking about some of the people we've listened to, and they talk about relationships, and maybe you don't have a relationship at all with that gallery, but maybe there's a way to form relationships through emailing some of the artists that are in those galleries, and just asking them, how's it going with that gallery? And like I just recently did that with a residency, I just emailed and said, how did it go with that residency? And did you enjoy yourself? And maybe those relationships will build the relationships with the gallery owners. So maybe it's kind of a, like LinkedIn, you've got your third connection, then your second, and then you become the first, right?
The indirect approach.
Yeah, but it might be a lot easier in finding ways to connect with the artists first, or something else related to the gallery, and then getting your way into the gallery owner.
That makes a lot of sense, because suppose you do manage to attract interest from a gallery, and then you really have no idea what your experience is going to be like. If you know someone who's been selling through there already, that takes a lot of the gamble out of it, one would think. But then you're in a relationship with the gallery, and I really think that that there are so many alternatives these days. Have you considered selling directly from your site, or somehow getting warm bodies beyond just the next event to your studio to experience your work, or to see other installations of it that where you can have a one-on-one with a potential collector or a buyer? Rachel.
There was something like that we did. I don't know about Vermont, but there's contemporary art galleries around, and
Oops, sorry.
Like member groups. They have like memberships, and oftentimes those memberships are with members who are very wealthy. And they did studio visits as one of the perks to being a member. And we were on that studio visit tour. And so all of these wealthier people through this museum, contemporary museum, came into our studio, and it was a very wine and dine type of mood, you know, and but it was very fun, and I don't know if anything came from it, but maybe that's also a way to connect with, for all of us, you know, some of the wealthier people, is to see if your studio, if a museum or gallery or something does studio visits with their members, and you would like to be a part of that visit.
That's a great idea. We have a magazine in Greenwich that is pretty much cover to cover rich people. It is a thick, glossy magazine, and every double page spread is a different organization, and whatever event they've recently had, the black and white ball, the fundraiser, is documented there, and they cram a lot of photographs of the people who attended, who are all holding drinks and dressed to the nines, and their names are all there, and you can. I wonder if that kind of thing exists in Vermont. Is there a way to access collectors in the wood-powered state?
Has anybody seen the series Portlandia? It's
Yes.
kind of like Burlington is the biggest city in Vermont. It's only 46,000 people, and it's like Portland, Oregon. It's like, and that's not just, and there are people with money around, but they're all pretending that they don't have money.
It's the beauty of Vermont, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
the answer is you've just got to move.
No, I just built an addition onto my studio, and I've been where I live for almost 25 years, and the goal has been to keep low overhead, and it's too good to pass up. And plus, I really like it here.
Yeah.
But I gotcha.
That's too bad. Okay, well, we're at 9 o'clock already. Should we wrap this up? I think yes, and
It's really fast.
it does go fast. Well, there's a lot to talk about, and Jane Johnson sends her regards. She says she's waving to us from the beach. I don't know which beach she's on, and JKB Fletcher says that he's driving back from Copenhagen. So don't you wish you were in the car with him? And so he's going to join us next week, as will Jane.
So I was wondering how Juan is doing. We've been kind of monopolizing the conversation, and wonder how things are going in his world.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's unmute Juan and get a report from Juan.
Okay, what can I report? I am working on my webpage right now. I will send you the link. It's just a test version, but if you can give me your feedback, I will greatly appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly will. Be glad to do that.
That's probably a great place to put your efforts right now. I know the more tapes I watch of Paul's, the more I see how important the internet is becoming. I was kind of surprised at that 8% participation in websites that you were talking about, Mark. It seems so many of the galleries are opening their own sites, are struggling with sales, or sort of a transition in the economy.
No, that 8% figure referred to where art advisors buy their work. So,
right. Mm-hmm.
So that would be a direct sale right from the internet.
But with the internet, you can also as Rachel was saying, Leslie, find other artists who are who do work that you like, and sort of develop your own little niche of artists that you're familiar with and that you're comfortable with, and perhaps can expand into more other professional associations from that. I found that the artists I meet, especially through this group, are so supportive and friendly, and our gallery people are often seen as adversarial. So it helps to develop the community, and I'm betting that the internet will be an even broader place to market our things ultimately.
I've just shared Juan's homepage here. Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. This is
Juan, do you want us to talk about it together, or would you rather us email it?
Okay, just for the sake of time, I can tell you I have two types of works. These type of wild bushes thing is one more decorative side of my work. I have found that it sells better because it's easier to absorb. And the other more expressionist, more strong work, I prefer to work on these type of works instead of the bushes. It's kind of abstract, but also a lot of animal and human images appear. And I like that people have different interpretations of what I do. Usually every work is wild enough so that very wild interpretations come from different people.
I'm going to translate it into English. This is great. What I like about it is that you have this consistent area over here with the title, the materials, the dimensions, and the year it was produced.
Yeah.
That's really well organized. And I think this would give a really great impression to any gallery or dealer who takes a look at it. It's uncluttered and very direct.
Yeah, Juan, your work is so colorful and expressive. I would think that it would work well with art advisors or as compliments to an interior decorator who needs color to bring alive a certain room or decor.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I do believe my work has a decorative side that might help make a room look nicer or interesting.
And I see you speak Latin too.
No. This actually work for news posts that if I appear in a magazine or in a Facebook comment or anything, I will include that information here.
Yeah, no, that's great. This is your blog, and that's what's going to get better SEO or better ranking on the search engine sites.
Right.
So, and every time you post something, don't forget to tweet about it or otherwise have a link to your Facebook page or other social media. Also, do you do these same images on Instagram or Pinterest?
Yeah, I will have connections to Facebook and Instagram, and basically those two.
And if you can figure out how to do it, put a Pinterest link with each image so that people can easily post it to their own Pinterest sites. That also helps drive traffic.
Thanks for the advice. I haven't used Pinterest yet. My wife kills me just because of that, but I know.
It's justifiable homicide.
Yeah.
really should be using Pinterest.
I will.
So Juan, I like the website a lot. It looks really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice job.
And what did you use?
I used a friend of mine who is into designing web pages.
Great. Nice friend to have. It's really nice.
Oh yeah.
And your work is lovely too. It's really,
Thank you.
Yes.
really great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bob, for reminding me about Juan. Thank you, Juan.
Pleasure.
So, Bob, we haven't heard from you. What's going on in your world with your work?
I'm muted right now.
No, you're not.
I have 3 works in a local gallery. It's interesting, Sarasota has a pretty vibrant art community here. Also, they have, for you sculptors, a large outdoor sculpture garden throughout the city, and they do a lot of public commission works here. So you might tweet or look through the internet for Sarasota. There's about 300,000 people here, a lot of people moving down every day from the north. Yeah, I had this was a juried show, and the jurors were the participants, were the members of the association. So they didn't have an expert come in. It was kind of an unusual thing. They were experimenting to see if how it was received. But for me, I found, based on the results, that maybe we as artists aren't the best people to be judging our works, because some of the best works were sort of left in the background, and it was basically, what do we think artists should be is what came to the surface.
Yeah, that's quite true. So did you come to a solution or a conclusion about that?
Well, you just have to keep doing what is your personal message and what feels best for you. And it was really interesting to meet the people, the artists, talk about their work. And so in that way, it was new connections for me, finding local artists who were committed to getting the show put together.
How are you dividing your time now between your photography and your sculptural work?
Well, I just I work about 16 hours a day, I guess you'd have to say. I'm still winding down my website work. I'm taking care of my stepmother's home. I've just been overcommitted. I used to be a builder, so I've got these various projects winding down as I put more effort into my artwork. But yeah, it's been great to see everybody's enthusiasm and ideas.
Good.
I've been very, very fond of the group.
Great. Well, yeah, we want to see you next week too, and find out what you've been doing to devote more time to your artwork and less time to your mother-in-law's house.
It's almost done.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, it's a problem of I'm the patriarch of the family now, so.
I see. Yeah.
Got a call saying my granddaughter's computer broke, so I have to go fix the computer now. But yeah, that's a good place to be also. So I have to get the family more in step with what I'm trying to do as well.
That's right. You got to train them.
Family support.
Yes.
Good luck on that.
Yeah. It's something we all wrestle with, I know. And it was even harder when my studio was at home. But once I got out of the house, it helps a great deal.
So you have an external studio?
Yes, I rent a place about 10 miles away from home, and it made a huge difference. It was just impossible to work at home and not be divided in my attention. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah. So, okay, well, it's 9:11. I think we should wrap this up. Thank you.
I want to share one thing, though, really.
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay. So I was really gutsy, I thought, this week.
How so?
I emailed Paul, and I said, because you've encouraged us to really step out and trust that people do really want to help artists and go along on the journey, I decided to do an Indiegogo site to raise money for my residency to France. So if you'd like to look at it, hint, hint. And in 5 minutes, he had given me money.
No kidding.
I mean, it was, you know, a nice little, you know, treat. It wasn't a lot, but I mean, someone could easily have said, I've got 1,000 artists that are on me and no way am I giving away any money. He was so sweet. So anyways, I held him accountable.
That's great. That's good. And,
Terrific.
Yeah, because if he hadn't, we'd never let him forget it.
Well, we should each do that once a week. We'll take turns calling Paul.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry he didn't show up tonight. He was communicating with Leslie, and Leslie said that he might show up, that he made no promises. What was the Leslie? What was the reason?
I was sending the email to all of you about the studio sale question because I just wanted to give a little background and show the announcement so that when I put the question out there, there wouldn't be so much explaining to do. And then really as an afterthought, I copied Paul too because I thought, hey, wait a minute, you know, we're allowed to email him forever, you know, with questions. So instead of just asking the group, I could ask him too. So I just copied it to him.
I see.
He wanted to respond, and then he said, oh, you know, maybe I'll stop by. He said, but he said no promises.
Right.
Maybe he meant your studio sale he'd stop by.
Yes, he's driving.
No, he wanted the link to the meeting. So that's why I forwarded it to Mark to make sure he got the right information.
Has anyone taken his noontime course on an a la carte basis? No. I keep getting his invitation to do that, but I haven't taken him up on it. All right, now I'm going to try to wrap this up once again because I got to go home. And it's been a wonderful evening. Love spending it with you guys, and thanks very much. And have a productive week, and save up some stories for next week so that we can share and encourage each other to keep on selling and making our best work. So I will say goodnight and unmute everybody to say goodnight to each other.
Bye. Take care.
Becker.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everyone.